Haverinen, Copenhagen, Denmark. Time for our fifth first round match. Would you please welcome on stage a two-time semi-finalist at PDC Nordic and Baltic events from Finland. It's Teuvo Haverinen.
Sitting in a small cafe now, swinging to the cabaret. Wanna see a movie, taking a show now, meeting new people at the disco, yeah. Gonna be so neat, dance to the Eurobeat, yeah. Gonna be so cool, twisting by the twisting by the.
And his opponent represented his home country for a fourth straight year this past weekend in Hamburg at the World Cup of Darts. Would you please welcome from New Zealand, it's the Code Star, Cody Harris.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. Get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah.
Second half of the afternoon session, day one of the Danish Darts Open, and what an occasion for both these two players. Cody Harris making his European Tour debut, the first ever New Zealander to appear on the European Tour stage, and likewise Teuvo Haverinen making his European Tour debut as well. I'll get to the bottom of his name in due course. Teuvo Haverinen, either way. It's Finland against New Zealand on this afternoon session of the European Tour here in Denmark. Like I say, a big occasion for both players, lots at stake, plenty to aim for, and certainly a big incentive as well. A second round meeting with Stephen Bunting, the immediate reward on offer for either of these two. But I suspect, Paul, that both players will be perhaps feeling the nerves, feeling a little bit edgy, wanting to make the most of what is, on the face of it, a very good opportunity indeed.
Yeah, very much so. I think this has been coming a very, very long time for Cody Harris. Don't know a lot about Teuvo, but we're about to find out a little bit more about him and what brand of darts he brings to the Euro Tour. But you've got to put Cody as a firm favourite, because he has been knocking on the door of getting to the Euro Tour for a while, and he's showed some proper form this year as well. Yeah,
and let's not forget that he comes into this tournament on the back of a fairly productive weekend in the World Cup in Hamburg last weekend. New Zealand making the quarter-finals, losing to Japan on the Sunday afternoon. It was a good tournament, I think, for New Zealand. They acquitted themselves well and perhaps got as far or further than they
ladies and gentlemen,
expected.
First leg, Cody to throw first. Game on!
Yeah, I think Cody has almost taken the mantle from Warren Parry and Warren French in Kiwi darts, and he's run with it, because with the World Series going down to Auckland every year, we get little glimpses of who's coming through, but the one shining light over the last few seasons has been Cody. He is by far and away the best player in New Zealand for me, and the sacrifice that he has made to come to Europe and further his career in this sport is up there with the sacrifice that Kyle Anderson made as an Aussie.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. He's a father of 5, actually, so he's sacrificed a lot to try and establish himself as New Zealand's first pro player. His goal, I suppose, well, not I suppose, but his goal is, he's said as much, is to inspire others to make a similar move, to take up the sport. And he has listened to the advice of Kyle Anderson, who, as you say, made a similar move. Awful start by Teuvo, by the way, 22 and a 43 to start things off.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that there are other guys on the other side of the world who can potentially make the same sort of sacrifices. I talk about a guy called Raymond Smith, who is someone we saw at the World Championships at Ali Pali back in December. We haven't seen the last of Raymond, and there's another guy in Australia by the name of Damon Heta, who I really rate. I think, and I've been speaking to the guys at Dart Players Australia about him. They really rate this guy, and I reckon he's going to be at the Worlds at the end of the year. And watch out for Damon Heta. But right now, it's Cody Harris who's way in charge in this, and Tuvo is really struggling at the start of this match. Maybe the nerves are just getting him a little bit.
Yeah, 42 it was, sorry, and a 22 so far. He's needed 9 darts to get down to 415. And the first dart is not happening for him. Hasn't hit a single... Well, he's hit a treble 20 there at long last.
100.
That's more like it, moving in the right direction after all.
60.
Well, Cody's darts do land a little bit flat, so he shouldn't get a blocker dart here. Although he does need to create a little bit of an angle. And that's a really good start from Codes.
Cody Harris.
We said he was the favourite, well, he's just showed us
Game on.
why.
Yeah. Haverinen down to 315 after his 12 darts. He was well adrift in that one. Certainly has to make the most of the opportunities on his throw.
Well, Tuvo's going to have to do something that he did in qualifying. He beat Mindaugas Barauskas of Lithuania, who also played in the World Cup last week with Darius Labanauskas. And he's going to have to beat a really good compatriot of the guys like I mentioned, like Warren French and Warren Parry and like Sir Barry Whitaker and all these great Kiwi dart players that have come through in the past. But like we mentioned, I think Cody he's got a real future, and I think what he's doing is he's just taking things really slowly. We see players like Corey Cadby, for instance. They come into the professional ranks and they go bang, win straight away. Cody's just going to creep up on you in the next few seasons for me. And if Tuvo's going to creep up on Cody Harris in this game, he's going to have to improve. Well, he's found a 60 for the first time, and it's like a bus.
140.
Well, Cody Harris certainly put in the hard yards on the Challenge Tour last season. He qualified for the World Championship by finishing 3rd on the Challenge Tour Order of Merit behind Michael Barnard and Ted Evans, but Barnard had already secured his place at the World Championship via the Pro Tour Order of Merit, and Evans qualified via the Development Tour. So that just opened things up for Cody Harris to return to Ali Pali. He made his debut there in December of 2017, lost to Ian White in his first round match, but at his second attempt he fared better. He beat Martin Schindler 3-2, despite a bizarre moment when he busted his score on 134, which you may remember, Paul. That allowed Schindler to win the 4th set, but then he bounced back to come through anyway.
He's a bit like Teflon, is Cody. Nothing much bothers him. He almost lives by the Kiwi dart player philosophy of Phil Hazel, one of the best Kiwi dart players that I've met in my time, and our referee Russ Braze knows Phil Hazel very well as well. He says, when you lose a game or you have a bad moment, you've got 3 seconds to get over it, and then you just move on.
Well, somebody once said the most important facet you can have as an individual sportsman is a short memory, and Harris certainly had a short memory. That day he put that 134 blunder behind him and didn't dwell on it too long and got on with the business of securing his place in the next round. He was eventually beaten by Jamie Lewis in round 2, but nevertheless £15,000 in prize money to go along with the £5,000 or so that he picked up on the Challenge Tour as well. It's a good financial platform for him as he looks to establish himself in the UK.
He's having to do the hard yards with the travelling as well, and travelling is something we'll talk about in the next leg, providing Tuvo gets this tops. Doesn't want to let Cody in, and he does. Where does Cody go? Does he go for the 25 in bull, or does he go for the 51?
Well, I would suspect the 25s, but it may well be, yeah, it was the 25. He's left himself 80, tops. Well, if it was, I'm not quite, no, he went for treble 20, but the 10.
Tuvo, you require 40.
So for his first leg on a European Tour stage, and to equalise, Tuvo needs tops. That sounds a bit like a sitcom, doesn't it? Tuvo needs tops.
Tuvo needs tops, and Tuvo finds tops to get his first ever European Tour leg. So making his European Tour debut. Talking of the travelling, I mean, I was just looking into this with Haverinen in particular, he's come through the Nordic and Baltic qualifier, and you might think, well, this is something of a, a home tournament for him. But in fact, when you look at where he's from, he's actually travelled further than pretty much all of the UK base players. He's from a little town on the coast of the Gulf of Bothnia. That's the stretch of water that separates Finland and Sweden. It's called Raha. He works there as a steel worker, by the way. And he's actually, looking quickly at the map of the world, or that map of Northern Europe, he's travelled further than pretty much all the UK-based players. So it's anything but a home gig for him.
Yeah, I remember a very famous story when a Finnish dart player by the name of Jarkko Kommila made the World Masters final many years ago. And people were talking about how far he travelled once a week for a really good game of darts in Finland. And it was something like 1,000 miles just to play a really good game of darts. I think we underestimated just how big Finland is.
It is huge. And some of these towns on the coast especially are very inaccessible, especially during the winter time as well.
I'll tell you what, when you're talking about inaccessible and things like that, that brings Kenny McNeil to mind
99.
of Canada, who is a scaffolder and does so in -30 temperatures. Well, imagine being a steel worker in those type of climates, and that can't be easy. I suppose playing a game of darts is supposedly a lot easier than that, but it's anything but easy for Tuvo in this game so far. But he is level, one leg all. It's a bit of an edgy encounter.
Well, he's got plenty in hand here as Cody Harris, but 65 is the target. Well, he's hit treble 11 to leave double 16. That got the thumbs up from Paul Nicholson. But
I
the
love
finishing
that way.
doesn't.
I love that way.
So 65, okay, so if you hit the single 11, you're left with 54, so you should still obviously get the crack at the, well, presumably at tops or any other double if you prefer, but...
Well, when your opponent is nowhere near a finish, like Tuvo is here, then what's the point in going for 65 on 25? You made it a ball, you start putting yourself into a bit of a corner, get that treble 11 or a single, and give yourself a really good finish. And he's taking care of business as Cody. He's not having to play his best stuff right now, but there's some sportsmanship on the stage, which is lovely to see. But the winner of this one will take on Stephen Bunting, like you mentioned earlier. The 14th seed is waiting, and apparently on his way here with Ricky Evans, which I'm reliably informed he's got a couple of masks in the bag. So will we see another one of those this weekend?
I hope so. Danish fans will be hoping so as well. This is what I love about the Euro Tour. Not Ricky Evans' masks in particular, but although I do enjoy those, or certainly enjoyed that moment in Zwolle. But here we have a man from Auckland, New Zealand,
96.
12,000 miles away or so, against a man from the coast of the Gulf of Bothnia, coming together for the very first time on the European Tour, these two, in the Danish capital.
Yeah, darts unites people, and don't you forget it. You ever been in New Zealand, Rob?
Never been to any sort of Antipodean area at all. It's one of my big regrets in life so far, but it's something I'm looking to address in due course.
Well, knowing of your love of tennis, you've got to get yourself down to Melbourne.
58.
It's on the list.
Well,
Don't you worry, Paul.
darts in
World Series too as well.
Darts in New Zealand is just huge. I had no idea how big it was down there until I moved to Australia and found out just how many Kiwis play darts.
Yeah, one of my close friends back at home is a New Zealander, Kerry Ryan, if you're listening. Little mention. Big fan of Cody Harris's as well. He's involved in the London League. He was in the same league that Diogo Portela was involved in before his move to the Northwest. He's a fairly decent club player, decent league player, but yeah, he's indicative of this passion that exists in New Zealand for darts.
There's a lot of expats as well in New Zealand who have taken their dart skills and moved all the way over there, as well as the guys who are originally from there. And that really just
100.
culminates into what is a huge darting scene. We go to the World Series in Auckland and consequently to other areas now. But for me, and I'm not just saying this because Cody's
100.
playing, but the New Zealand World Series is the best event of the lot because the fans are amazing. It's so well run, and the banter from the crowd, unsurpassable. Absolutely brilliant. Some of the best fancy dress I've seen worldwide.
43.
Yeah, and Harris will be involved, as you say,
Cody
in the New
require
Zealand
108.
Darts Masters in August. It takes place in Hamilton this year. Harris now looking at 48, so back upstairs for tops for a 3-1 lead, and that's the first break of throw.
Cody Harris.
It was coming.
Fifth leg Cody to throw
certainly been on the
first.
cards. Not quite
Game
sure
on.
why there's been a little tap of the hand after 4 legs of this one.
It's a bit like the basketball last night between the Raptors and the Golden State Warriors. Well, I'm sure Cody's going to try and be Toronto as opposed to the Californian team. But there's a lot of high-fiving going on in basketball, isn't it? Even when they miss the free throw. I don't get that.
Cody Harris, by the way, just to illustrate how he got here, not in terms of flying here, but in terms of his passage through qualifying. He took part in the European qualifying programme for the associate members, the non-tour card holders. That took place on the weekend of May the 19th. And he had to come through 5 rounds of qualifying. But over the course of those 5 matches, he only lost 4 legs as well. 6-0 against Raymond Hurbrink of the Netherlands. 6-1 against Dragutin Horvat, which was an eye-catching result. 6-2 against Christian Gödel. 6-1 against Gabriel Rollo of Italy. And then 6-1 against Kevin Munch, in which he averaged 104 as well. And that will do his average the world of good. 140 for Harris. So 5 rounds and only 4 legs dropped. I mean, okay, you can look at the opposition.
$123. Cody, you require 138.
Well, this for a 4-1 lead. Oh, beautifully done by Cody Harris, looking at double 12.
126.
Set up there, but again, he's under no pressure at all. He knows he's got darts and time and plenty of other things in hand as well.
I think the Finn has just been like a cat in headlights. He doesn't really know how to play his best game
60.
on the stage.
Cody, you require 12.
Sometimes it can be borderline frightening. But double 6 for Codes. Double 3. Doesn't even
9
hesitate, and he
score.
splits it. I think maybe it's becoming infectious. The lack of quality in this game. There has been some good darts, but there's been way too many bad ones. Tuvo doesn't want to have that tag of the lowest average that we've ever seen on the European Tour, which is just over 54. And he's
96.
teetering around that right now,
Cody, you
so he needs to
require 3.
find more treble 19s and treble 20s. That's only just in the 1 for Cody. Well, that's a
Game
beautiful
shot on the
double
fifth
1.
leg.
As
Cody
good as that
Harris,
double 1
6
was,
legs, over
is
the
as bad
front
as the
first.
single 1 was previous, but he got
Game
there.
on.
Well, just looking at the potential for this unwanted record, at the moment, Haverinen is averaging 60.04. The record, as you mentioned, 54.27 by, can you tell me? I'll be
cannot.
impressed if you get this
I
ball.
cannot.
I mean, I've got the answer right in front of me. I've just quickly looked this up, but it was a 6-0 scoreline. It was
score.
Terry Jenkins who was the winner. Jenkins, by the way, won with an average of just 76.42 that day. But his opponent, it was in the Austrian Darts Open. He was playing one of the host nation qualifiers. It was Gunter Rimser.
58.
And that was in 2013, just over 6 years ago. So we do have a potential unwanted record on the European Tour today.
It just goes to show, doesn't it, that when your opponent doesn't turn up at all and has a nightmare, that
35.
it does affect your performance. You play better when your opponent plays better. It's really hard to throw in those 104 averages like he's done in qualifying when your opponent's just throwing nothing back at you. But full credit to Cody Harris.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, I suppose, when you need to sort of inject your own pace and inject your own tempo when you're up against, let's be honest, limited opposition here for the New Zealander.
36.
I do recall that horror show by Keegan Brown as well more recently. Well, that was last year, wasn't it, when he averaged 61.06 and a 6-0
45.
demolition at the hands of Watimena. But we have had a couple of other 60-point-something averages as well some time ago. Adrian Kazmierz and Dirk Becker on the European Tour.
Well, Cody Harris just wants to get the 6. And he wants to keep
40.
what would be a 100% record going if he gets this. Don't think there's anybody in the world who's got a 100% record on the European Tour stage.
No, there isn't.
That's a really good leg from Cody Harris, though, leaving double 19 after 12. Real quality. He has got that in abundance. And I think he's going to get a really good reception in Hamilton in a couple of months down in New Zealand.
41.
I wish I was going. I really do. Have to go back one day and maybe do another bungee jump.
Ah, yes. The home of the bungee.
Double 19 for Harris. How does he find that one?
No score.
He doesn't.
But again, he's got all the time in the world. It's Louis Armstrong time here for Cody Harris here in Copenhagen.
We are, of course, in the shadows of the Brøndby Stadium. Very impressive, too. I was at the gym this morning, nice and early, after being woken up by the sunlight at 5 to 4 in the morning. And there was some very fine Danish national athletes in the gym this morning showing their prowess. Showing me up, you wouldn't believe it. But misses at double 8. And that really good leg from Cody Harris has fallen by the wayside. He's still in control, though. Tuvo doing the right thing, going 19s from 199. And that's better. Leaving himself a ton. And Cody needs to get rid of this right now.
Yeah, he can't really afford to hang around too much longer because you just never know with Tuvo.
12
Always
score.
expect the unexpected, I suppose, from somebody who's
Turbo, you require 100.
consistently inconsistent on the evidence so far today.
It's amazing sometimes just how patient you've got to be in the game of darts. I talk about it a lot in golf, how you've got to stay patient. And Tuvo needs to find treble 16. He's way off. And Cody has got a strike here.
37.
Yeah, keeping Russ Bray on his toes with that visit, wasn't he? Tuvo. Anyway, Harris looking at double 2. Just nudging the wire. And that one is on the money. It's another breaker throw. And Tuvo Haverinen is close to having his misery ended here by Cody Harris, who is now 1 leg away.
Well, Cody's got this really good ability with that dart of his because it lands quite flat. He can get it just over the top, like with that double 2 shot. That was a really good guide for him because he can sneak it over the top of the flight. But he throws it so hard that he can also get it underneath. I think, pound for pound, he would have to be in the top 5 in the world of how hard he throws the dart. Just watch his follow through on the next 3 darts. He throws them really, really hard. That real accentuated follow through. It's a beautiful, graceful throw.
It was a great first dart, and I'm surprised that he didn't back it up with at least one more treble 20.
I really want Eric Tautfest to come back on the European Tour because that guy, for me, throws them the hardest of the lot.
I'm not quite sure what happened with that first dart from Tuvo.
58.
I think this is a performance he will want to forget very quickly. And Cody Harris wants to get rid of this game very quickly so that he can look forward to a game with the former Lakeside champion Stephen Bunting.
We've got another debutant on the European Tour stage coming up very shortly as well, Jose de Souza.
He can play, that man. The first Portuguese player to be on the Euro Tour. He is a proper darter.
Yeah, semi-finalist on the Pro Tour recently.
45.
And he gets his campaign underway after this match against Scott Taylor. Now we are keeping a very close eye on these averages. I think Haverinen might just get away with this pitfall of not becoming the player to produce the lowest ever average on the Euro Tour. But he's
82.
flirting with it, shall we say, right now.
To be fair, Rob, with an average like 57, he wouldn't even get in the Northumberland B team. That's how bad this performance has been. And I'm always about talking about the positives and things like that, but sometimes
85.
it just doesn't go right for whatever reason. And for Tuvo, this hasn't been good enough.
Got an ant crawling across the one bed. Stay away from there, Cody.
Well, I tell you what, if Simon Whitlock was playing, he would have pinged that. He's done it before. Another person trying to get in without a ticket. The absolute audacity of that. Cody Harris is 78 away from
100.
a winning
Cody
debut here
requires 78.
in Copenhagen.
Well, potentially one dart away now. Double 12 for Harris. His finishing hasn't been exemplary by any stretch of the
54.
imagination, and he will have to return once again. Now, the question is whether Haverinen can just stay above this threshold.
With a 9 at the end, he's
it's
done
all right.
exactly the same. That's really good darts.
99.
But Cody Harris,
Cody
24 away
required
to get the job
24.
done.
Double 12. Still
score.
unable to find a way through.
Tuvo, you require 90.
Where's he going to go for 90 then? Where's your money?
18s.
He's not going to go bull, is he?
Well, he went for treble 5, 25 bull.
That's a great miss. Because now he has got 25 bull.
If he takes this out, oh, he's too good. It's too good, Tuvo.
Unbelievable. He just knew it was going to happen.
82.
Well, he's had plenty of practice at this, Cody
required
Harris.
24.
To get it done, Cody Harris needs double 12. He doesn't want to go to double 3 again, does he?
No, he does not, but he avoids
shot,
that particular
and a match, Cody
pitfall
Harris.
as well, and Cody Harris comes through a 6-1 winner, but let's face it, he was up against very limited opposition in the shape of Tuvo Haverinen, who just about avoids producing the lowest average on the European Tour. In fact, in the end, he was 60.77, so it wasn't even the second worst average on the European Tour. But Cody Harris knows he will really have to sharpen up tomorrow.
Thank you very much
when he
to
takes on
Tuvo
Stephen
Haverinen.
Bunting. But a winning start for Cody Harris, the first New Zealander
Cody.
to play on the European Tour. A winning start for him on his debut, but a losing debut.
Before we look at the next round, who's coming for you there, let's take a look back at the World Cup. You've been to the quarterfinals there. Would you say that's a positive result that sets you up well for the coming few months?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm very proud of me and Hopai Puha. We did our country proud, and hopefully next year we step it up a notch.
Next round, round 2, it's the bullet, Stephen Bunting, who awaits. How do you assess that? What do you think? What expects you there?
I expect him to play well. He's a really good player. He's a good friend of mine as well. So yeah, we'll be friends off the hockey, and we'll have a good battle up here.
We wish you the best of luck in the second round. Big applause for Cody Harris.